YouTube mostly, folks. So, as you age, right? Me being 37, I think about the long-term consequences of things naturally because I've experienced a lot of long-term consequences of various things. So that life experience informs me to think in that way. Now, with weight training, of course, there's wisdom is great in that because, of course, long-term results are really what you're aiming at. So the more reasonable you can be long-term rather than short-term, the better your results will by nature be. So you notice that people who have a lot of training experience tend to be very fit, no matter whether whether they've been training recently a whole lot or not. Sometimes, just because of that experience, the understanding how to like maximize their effort without hurting themselves based on their own body, because everybody's body is so radically different. Especially people who are not like 13, where they're not just the out of the package version of themselves, but they're the genetically adapted version of themselves that they've transformed into to become better at their daily life, which is something that you sort of, I think, as you age is more prevalent because you don't need to grow for any other reason than to change to become better at the things that you're doing. So as a result, humans have discovered weight training as a way to kind of control that adaptation towards perpetually increasing physical performance. But coming from that mind state, a lot of people, especially in the bodybuilding community, even the powerlifting community, but any type of community, are pushing, really extreme behaviors. Now, I understand when somebody's, maybe totally going for broke on roids or something. I mean, that's a different category of thinking. If that person is living life, kind of like the rock star guys with the whiskey and cocaine before the show and the heroin after the show, like that's your choice if you want to party like that. But you just, that's obviously not a long-term strategy for anything. That's a person who's is burning the candle all the way down at now, and that's the way they want to party. So that's people, though, who are not from that mind state, who actually are kind of using maybe some of those extreme fitness maybe ideologues as inspiration. Like, it's one thing if you're like obese and you're trying to get back into working out, and you do maybe a Chris Gethin bodybuilding.com program where you're doing 8 million supersets and everything's to failure times failure. And also if you're like maybe a one of those folks that like CT Fletcher, like he's great in the way he motivates, but like it really does not make sense to throw up during your workout. Like if you throw up during the workout, that is a bad thing. And maybe, I don't know, it's not necessarily the case that you want to do a whole lot of work after that, although you could do some work. It just has to be stuff that you're 100% sure of, because you're not going to be hydrated and your chance of injury probably goes up a whole lot when your body temperature, your core temperature changes when you throw up. So that's not what you want to do as a preference. It'll happen though, is one thing at those levels. Like if somebody's obese and getting back into working out, they will throw up during workouts sometimes, even when the workout isn't that hard. So to kind of tap into that mentality for somebody like that is actually useful when they're trying to rebuild conditioning or build conditioning. But when somebody becomes relatively trained and they can do movement patterns, routinely, it's like kicking a can down the road from November to June of next year at my age comes up too soon. So I can't kick cans down the road 6 months, where I know that if I keep up a certain type of programming, I'm going to have a tendon rip off or something. Like it's to a point where you do have to think in all things, including your choice of supplementation, food. Like you have to plan this whole game around the rest of your life. Like, so if the only way you're going to lose weight is by cutting, like you're only going to eat like this one weird combination of things, or there's a lot of these reductionary diets where there's no way you can sustain it the rest of your life, and it's probably not healthy. I mean, I've had some friends do some reductionary diets and wind up snapping a foot and stuff, like, because they're just too malnourished, or missing some key nutrients that were out of balance. It's just, on a certain level, long-term sustainability has to be incorporated into a thought process of a program, because you have to age under the iron. You can't just do the next 12 weeks and have some particular day and show out and then you're good for forever. I mean, that's one thing that I kind of wish maybe the bodybuilding industry would not promote as much, as these temporary states that you can't stay in. Like, I wish they would promote a permanent state that you can always be in and still be getting PRs on your bench press, and not have to be, where there's this opposite situation where bodybuilders at the peak of their competition probably couldn't even bench press 135 without having a heart attack, because it might get hyponatremia or whatever, because they haven't been not taking any sodium in, and it's just a little bit crazy. Kind of the same thing with like ballet. Like ballet, they have these girls like whittle their muscles down while they do workouts. Like, and they need to be strong to hold those positions. Some of those positions, and those girls have real long legs a lot of times, and here they are holding these positions, these really stiff planks in the air on top of people and stuff, and trying to look gentle while actually being very explosive in their movements. It's some challenging stuff, and sure would help for them to not be like, so low in their calorie intake that they've got amenorrhea. I know multiple girls who did ballet growing up who had serious hormone problems and had like ovaries removed. I'm not trying to say that that's what caused it, because that's outside of my scope of understanding, but it's just like, kind of like, you see a bunch of people getting their ovaries removed doing ballet, it's obvious they're not hitting 14% body fat, and their muscles are wasting away in their teens and in their preteens, and they're being held to these weirdly like forced skinny standards that are not normal for them, while they're also doing what is sometimes significant hypertrophy to their legs and glutes, which makes them want to grow. So, and you see like a lot of top ballet girls are like super ripped in like a bodybuilding competition type of way, although they're not as muscular, because they try and actually make their muscles shrink. So, I don't know. I wish there was more of a permanent state these folks would be in. That would be safer for everybody. And, like if I had a bodybuilding competition that I ran, you'd have to be able to like bench press something before you went on stage, or you wouldn't be qualified. Like, comment, and subscribe. I sure do appreciate all your time.